Kevin De Bruyne is not going to win the Masters, but he's pretty much won the lottery. He's become the best paid player in the Premier League after signing a new 4-year contract worth 20 million quid a season. And the intriguing part of this, and yes, it's true. I was like, what? But it's true. De Bruyne represented himself during the 6-month negotiation period. It ended yesterday. He agreed to extend his contract by 2 years until the summer of 2025, just before 10 o'clock yesterday morning. It all came out, and we went with that, of course, live on air on this very show. What do you make of that, Simon, that he negotiated the deal himself? What does that tell us about De Bruyne? To me, I'm thinking, well, this guy's in a different league.
Not really, no.
Why?
It tells me that he's mature enough. It's because it's rubbish that you need an agent. You're grown men. You want an agent to be able to obviate the responsibility of negotiating your own deal, and for the agent to deliver bad news, and you want to then the club to pay the agent. So you don't want any of the responsibility of the obligations that actually involve having an agent. You have an agent, Jim, you pay him. You sell a house, you get an estate agent, you pay him, right? In football, that doesn't work that way. So the fact that someone's had the moral turpitude to do their own deal at 29 years of age or whatever he is, doesn't fill me with a great deal of how wonderful you are. He knows his own mind. Well, hey, you're a grown man, you know your own mind. You know what you want. Man City want you. There's no doubt about it. So the conversation flows through. We'd really like you to sign. We'd really like to sign you. You've been with us for 3 or 4 years. You have a relationship with us. We have a relationship with you. We're the sort of club that supports you and there's no issues financially. It's not one of those clubs where you have to worry about whether the club are going to be able to afford your wage demands. You know you can get what you want from this club within reason, without too much difficulty, and you're very valued. So it's an easy discussion to have.
An easy discussion, so he would do it himself because he knew the outcome. Would that be right?
Well,
I mean, would he just be saying, look, you know me, I know you, you love me, you want me, I want that.
Well,
Is that agreeable? Yes.
I'll give you an example related to my time at Crystal Palace. Andrew Johnson. We get relegated from the Premier League. Andrew's in the England squad. Right? He brings his ghastly little snot-gobbling agent to the training ground and tries to circumnavigate me by doing a deal with Ian Dowie and Bob Dowie. I pull Andrew out of the meeting, sling his agent off the training ground and said, right, OK, you know me, I know you. I want you to stay. You are staying. You're part of a team that got relegated, so you're part of that responsibility, so you don't get to skate off into the sunset. I'll give you a new deal. What do you want? I want 30 grand a week. Done.
And that was it?
That was it. Done. You're worth it. No problem. Out you go.
But that doesn't happen every day of the week, does it?
Depends upon...
I mean, you're not telling me that Erling Haaland could do his deal himself.
Erling Haaland's 20 years of age.
He needs Raiola.
Erling Haaland doesn't need Raiola. He'll have a dressing room full of people that will be able to tell him what they're on and what they get, because it's no common secret. And by the way, don't you... I mean, I know you probably won't. Don't we loathe this need to know what players are getting paid in this time and age where people are bleeding out of their eyes financially, that we get to hear about players getting £20 million a year? I don't understand why it's become the norm that we have to hear what... No one knows your wealth or my wealth.
But you've just told us what you agreed with Johnson.
Sure, in that instance, yeah. But in the context of a conversation that we're having, but it doesn't mean I like it. You ask me a question, I'm giving you an answer. The sentiments of how much players are getting paid has become like this blueprint for what we should know about them. But anyway, moving on to him.
Simon, Mbappe couldn't do his own deal. You cannot tell me that Neymar couldn't do his own deal.
But you're sort of suggesting that it gives the balance of power to the chairman, right? Mbappe is a £150 million footballer. I think the clue's in the title. He isn't going to get underpaid, is he? Right. So you're sat there. He may not understand some of the jargon and language used by a chairman, but he understands the end result, which is I want, right? Because they know what they want. They know what the others are getting paid. It's not a secret what people do. Everybody knows everyone's business. That's why they're all covered head to foot in the same tattoos, because they're all lemmings, right? They follow one another. So here we are, sat here with a player at a certain age that probably needs a bit of support. You don't need a ghastly agent that gets 5-10%. You might need a lawyer that can sit there and hold order, that can sit there with an economic rate that's fair and representative, that you might actually be prepared to pay as the player because he's your representative.
I agree. I know what you're saying here, but De Bruyne is not the norm. He's not the norm here. This would be a deal that, as you rightly said, it was pretty easily done.
You'd be surprised. But also, he's not the norm, is he? So when we say, oh, he's not the norm here, well, of course he's not. He's on 385 grand a week and is revered as probably the best midfielder in Europe. So he's not the norm.
But his way of doing it is a way that you guys at the top of football clubs would love it to be done.
No,
agents not in the equation. Get me the player in here on his own, because I'll get him to agree. I'll get him to agree. And that's not what happened with De Bruyne, but that would happen with others.
If you have a value of this player, most of the time, let's be clear. You know, you're trying to re-sign a player because you want that return from the player, because you value him. I valued Andy Johnson because I knew his worth to me, and I knew that he was worth whatever within reason he asked for. So I gave it to him. And in exchange, I got him to sign a longer-term contract, which protected my position as the owner of the football club. Because if I wanted to sell him, I couldn't have my pants pulled down by a club in a year's time, because they knew I had a year left on his contract.
That's quite a thought.
Yeah, so it's not nice fault, is it?
But it was an easier deal for you to do because the agent wasn't even in the talks.
Well, I moved the agent out of the equation.
Yes.
But there's a lot of players, and I tell you when they're prepared to do it, when they've woke up, they smelled the coffee, and they realise that 90% of the agents are turgent little wretches that are only out for themselves. So players don't get to that stage. For a period of time, they sit there thinking, player, manager, community over here, football club owner, all not to be trusted. But I pay your wages, all not to be trusted. And over a period of time, relationships build, and they realise as they go through the young part of their 20s that actually that your employer can be trusted. They do look after your best interests. And most of the time, what agents do is create division. Not all of them, but they create division. Watch Raiola, you know, trolling around Europe, trying to find opportunities to move Erling Haaland along, with an outcome being as much as benefit for him as it will be for the player, because he'll be looking at how many deals he can pull together. Because you know that Erling Haaland's going to go somewhere. There's going to be other players involved, because people ain't going to want to write out 150, 200 million pound checks in this climate. So you're going to have players moved around. So you're going to get double dipping, left, right and centre, structuring deals. And some may say, well, chapeau, fair play to them. Others, like me, might say, marginalise them, reduce them, regulate them, take the cost implications away from them, make the players pay for them, and see how much the players want agents in the first place.
But you'd agree, they are a necessary evil. They are around, and they're there for a reason, the agents. I mean, if I was anything like Erling Haaland and the other way around, when I was 20, you know, if I was Erling Haaland today, I'm well capable of going to negotiate for myself, but I'd negotiate 100 grand less than what I'm already on.
But the thing is about this industry,
I'd make a Horlicks of it.
I understand that,
you.
and people will say, "Oh, it's all right for you to say," right? But at 26 years of age, right, I started a business that I sold for 100 million quid. So at 26 years of age, I had thousands of employees, starting a business, running it, doing all the things I can do that I needed to do. So at 26 years of age, I was a man. So were they. So were they. So at 26 years of age, why do you need a mouthpiece? I'll tell you why you need him, because you haven't got to pay him. The moment the players have to pay these people, suddenly, maybe I don't fancy an agent, maybe I'm big enough to do it for myself. There is, of course, you know, you can't negotiate with a 19-year-old kid, because an experienced businessman will turn him over a little bit.
Of course.
But get the balance right between...
And De Bruyne is a different set of circumstances altogether. He is a bright lad. Yeah. And of course, it wasn't a difficult deal to do.
So are a lot of footballers. But, you know, if you're going to give somebody what they want, it's not a difficult deal to negotiate, is it? I want 385 grand a week. Sold.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
negotiation over. Yeah, yeah.
It won't have been like that. It'll been, you know, a bit of a horse trade. But the clear position was Kevin De Bruyne wanted to be paid a certain amount of money. He also got unequivocal undertakings, I believe, from the Man City board that he wants to win the Premier. He wants to win the Champions League, something that Man City haven't been able to do.
What I would add to this is, it's been reported this morning that De Bruyne rejected City's initial offer in January, but the club returned with a restructured deal in which De Bruyne would earn more up front and less in variables.
Yeah, because what the club would have done is gone index it to performance, and he would have turned around and said, like all footballers, well, I'm not responsible for my performance, so I want to get paid up front, right? Yeah. And I want less on... Because the age-old argument always is, how many games would players win if they got paid 90 grand a week win bonus and 10 grand a week for turning up?
Sure.
You'd probably win more games.
Kevin, if you're listening this morning at the City training ground, I think you might be, thank God that you were negotiating with City and not Jordan. That's all I'm saying. Coming up to 11.